I'm going to turn it over to the person to my right. This next session is going to be led by Lena Slachmuijlder. She's Executive Director for Digital Peacebuilding at Search for Common Ground. And she's going to talk about Search for Common Ground's BridgeBot. This was a chatbot that was developed in partnership with Tangible AI. It's a WhatsApp-based chatbot that's designed to shift perspectives and grow skills in dealing with online conflict. So it acts as a companion to social media users. It helps them deal with differences of opinions, both everyday, cultural, political, and build skills around empathy and identity and nonviolent communication. It's been used more than 1,000 times in English, French, and Arabic since May 2023, and it's informed by Search for Common Ground's Common Ground approach. So Lena, over to you.
Okay, wonderful. And thank you, Steve. That was fascinating. I could see lots of potential for that. Thank you. All right, so let's share a little bit what problem we were trying to solve, what we did, and what we learned. So Search for Common Ground, largest dedicated peace building organization. We do all kinds of things that bring peace to where people are at, where they're living. We do music, we do theater, we do radio, we do reality shows. So we were really grappling with this question of like, how do we take this common ground approach, our signature conflict transformation approach that we know works, and actually bring it to people more easily, right? We had these 11 modules, and we were also wanting to understand to what degree are these skills around understanding multiple identities, power of empathy, perception, all the nonviolent communication, to what extent can we also tweak those so that it can help people to also be having that agency to transform conflict in the online space. So that was really our problem. More people and in a way that can be relevant for online. And again, we had done a bunch of research where we understood that, including and particularly in conflict affected countries, people were really struggling with dealing with conflict online. And oftentimes they were basically blocking people, turning off, and they just didn't feel as though they had that agency to say, hey, I want to be an upstander, I want to help, I want to mediate. They were feeling not that impetus. And it was just too important for us to be like, yeah, well, we'll just have to do another like 5,000 trainings across the world. So that's why we said to ourselves, how can we meet people where they're at, which meant on their phone, on WhatsApp? How can we make it easy and fun to learn about the Common Ground approach, making it relevant? And, we asked ourselves, there's a lot of chatbots out there that, particularly under COVID, a lot of interesting innovations around mental health. And those were some of the chatbots that we found most inspiring, giving us a sense that, you can almost be maybe even more intimate with a chatbot, to share, to learn, to feel as though you're in your own little space. And maybe those are the kinds of tools that can inspire us. So that's when we came up with BridgeBot. We could not have done this without Tangible AI, which they were here with us today. We'll certainly invite them another time. They had worked with social impact chatbots across the development, humanitarian, mental health, job creation. They'd just been doing this for a long time. And they knew how to train a bunch of people like these lovely women down there in our Sri Lanka team to learn how to build a chatbot. And it was really hard. You had to learn how to write a script in a way that was short, that was spunky, that had emojis. And it reminded me of my time, working so much with radio and television drama writers. It's not anybody who can do that. So they coached us and they helped us to be able to learn how do you write a script-based chatbot. And we chose the kind of WhatsApp chatbot that is not learning and responding to natural language. Thus, it is completely scripted, and you have just menu options, and that's what you have to choose. So writing that and building that was in partnership with Tangible AI. This is just a screenshot of, hi there, I'm a chatbot. We didn't give our chatbot personality as so. there's an amazing amount of choice points here, but we did, identify this as a search for common ground chatbot. We're here as a digital mentor to help you to respond to the challenges you might face online, because your participation is an important part of building a healthy digital community. And now, after rolling it out about a year ago, we have it in 3 languages. We took that common ground approach curriculum, which was 11 modules, and turned it into 5 modules, lots of sub-modules, interactive games, quizzes, lots of emojis. We also, offered people a chance to go to further resources, because there's excellent existing resources about working online and, mediating online conflict. Braver Angels has a beautiful course, for example. Each thread wasn't more than about 5 minutes. And we still learned that was still an ice age for some of our users, and they were not going to put up with that. And then we had an evaluation. When you finished like each module, we asked people if they wanted to do an evaluation and give us some feedback. And most people were not at all interested in giving us any feedback. And most people didn't make it till the end of the module. So just very quickly, I'll just show you about 30 seconds of what this looks like. One of the modules. Let's see if this works. Thanks for your patience. So the menu comes up, and then you can start, you can click, one of the adjustments we made was to give people a sense of how long this module was going to take. This is kind of exploring identity. And you guys can read this, yeah? Yeah, okay, just let you go with it for a little bit. So we, design these ways for people to sort of practice, try something out, and then learn, because in the Common Ground Approach modules, it's experiential. The whole training is experiential. So we try to make something experiential through the WhatsApp chatbot. You can see a little bit of the tone. And then try and bring it back to, so what you just did, remembering that not all identities are visible. That can also affect you. And then how do you show up online when not all your identities are invisible? And then, you can go and take a quiz. And then, and then there were other modules. I'll stop in a second. Quizzes. And we had other modules about like filter bubbles. So that's how it basically worked. And let me go back here. Okay, so just a couple of very quick stats. So we launched it about in May last year, but we only did marketing in the last few months. We've reached about 1,000 users, but only 154 of them actually finished a module. So they would, and you can see here on the bottom that where they started a module and finished a module. The other advantage of why we chose WhatsApp was because there's a huge backend data. So we could even see where people were going in the script. So the idea was that our teams would be extremely you'd launch it, you'd be iterating, you'd be understanding where people are blocked as they're using the chatbot. And we were able to see again where people were from. And most of this, the higher numbers from Kenya, Sri Lanka, and Nigeria was because our teams did in-person events. So even the online marketing that we did in the last few months ended up reaching very few people. You know, again, these were good evaluation graphics from the handful of people that bothered to fill out the evaluation. So I wouldn't give it all that much credit. And then here's what we learned. Okay, so firstly, the conversational design was hard. It took us a long time. And if we didn't have tangible AI to constantly rewrite it for us, I think we wouldn't have succeeded. The second thing is that, and you know, the technologists in the room will understand this, like the product launch is like the step zero. You know, it really is just put it out there, learn, test, iterate, adapt. And I think that it was tough for our teams to put it out and then to immediately think about breaking it again. You know, it was like, I have just cooked this special meal. Like, how do you want me to like dismantle it, you know? And so it was tough for people, even when they were seeing that like the engagement wasn't, or like some modules, people never got through it. It was tough for them to like rethink it, you know, turn that module into a flashcard, right? And so we struggled to make use of the user data, even though we had tangible AI guiding us, telling us what to look for, etc. And sometimes I think people were too attached, you know, coming back to my radio drama writers, it's not always them that can best adjust, you know, that character arc, because they can get a bit too attached to it, right? So there was something that in that creative ownership that, that I think our team struggled. We did, you know, we hired marketers to do it, but I think, you know, here we are as the peace builders in the room will know that we will not win a lot of awards for marketing. We're pretty bad at marketing, right? And I think that was still true, you know, even with this product. Although some of the ads that we put out were, you know, kind of hilarious. And we did, you know, we had ads about like, are you fed up? Do you hate everybody online? Well, choose Bridgebot, you know, but even the angry people somehow were not clicking through our modules. You know, again, most of the usage came when it was in person. The other thing was that as we were getting towards the finish line, ChatGPT emerged. And so then the minute we started to promote it, people wanted to like ask questions to Bridgebot. And Bridgebot was this like, you know, simple chatbot. And so it frustrated some of the users right away, and they felt it was suddenly inadequate. Would I do this again? Can it still be useful? And what other ideas did it spark? I don't know if I would do another chatbot because I'm just intrigued by using LLMs. And I think there's totally more potential there. So if I had a little time on my hands, I would go there. Can this still be useful? We've got this thing which really gives out key, core, simple lessons about what is conflict, identity, perception, nonviolent communication. I think it can be a useful educational tool, onboarding tool, helping the partners that we work with across the world to know how we think about conflict, you know, while they're riding on the bus to work or something like that, right? So I think it still can be useful. And maybe, you know, there can be some amendments to some of the modules or, you know, there can be a way to combine it with the other kinds of training that we do. And again, what other ideas did it spark? It sparked, I think, the necessity to understand user behaviors better. It's a lesson we constantly need to learn, right? Each time. We need to do more testing. We need to do more adaptation. And I think those muscles they need to be practiced. And we practiced a bit, but I don't think we got it enough. Interesting, when I talked to Tangible AI a few days ago, my last comment, I said to them, you know, where do you land on this? And they said, you know, sometimes chatbots take a while. You might be surprised that like maybe November this year, there's going to be a community that's just starts sharing it, that, you know, it picks up on something and likes it. And so, you know, it's still alive. It's on turn.io. And who knows? So thank you very much for listening and happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lena. Questions? Again, I see one here. You should see, yeah, there's a microphone. Could you? And one on your own. Oh, you got one. Okay, perfect.
Hi, thank you so much for giving us the demo. I had a question. You talked about the dual dynamic of trying to understand user behavior, but then also working with tangible AI developer, and they were guiding sort of your thinking about what to look for and how to iterate on the model. How do you work within, as a peace builder, trying to understand user behavior and using your own methodology for that, and then also having to comply with what tangible AI, and it said that they're working on a social impact chatbot, so potentially they have some experience working in the social impact space, but given they were guiding your own process, how did those power dynamics end up in your product?
I have a lot of appreciation for how they have a step-to-step process to teach people how to do this. And I think it was really from our side that we were in a hurry. So maybe we didn't do enough user experiences. I think the team we were working with, they were not chatbot fanatics. So it took a while for them to even understand what it is we were trying to build. But I think, and I also paid attention to it because I understood that that might be the power dynamic. And so I think we avoided that. But I think you're right that people, because they feel unsure of themselves and like they have to follow someone's instructions, the risk that you're pointing out is a real one. But I don't think that was really the root of our problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm gonna. Yeah.
So Lena, I was listening to that both for what you did and for the other tools you could have used, but I had before and after questions. Could you intentionally recruit people more intentionally than you probably did? More important is we begin to think how we could use these kinds of tools in the US. Did you think about providing, okay, you finish this thing, what do you want to do next? What are your, if you want to pursue this further, could you, for example, get in touch with the search office in country X or call Liz at AFP? And so, I mean, it's really, you're call Liz. It's really, how does this fit into bringing people into the stream and then providing them with outputs after they're done?
We actually had a whole year where we had hired the wrong team completely. So we hired another team, which was, people who were understanding the common ground approach and someone who was in tech in Sri Lanka. And I think, again, I don't know if we could have gotten a better team, but it was still hard for them to really build a chatbot that would speak in the right tone to people. I'm not sure I understood the second question because we did curate all these resources. So the chatbot experience enables people to go to other places to learn more. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And in fact, one of the things that we did also, we were capturing was how many people clicked on, getting to other resources. Because, if anyone asks the question, well, how do you know if it matters? It's difficult to know if it matters, right? Even if you were able to say we got, 85 people to download resources, again, it's still just one leg of the journey of transformation and people taking up these perspectives. Yeah.
So
I don't think we harmed anybody though. Yeah, I don't, and we could have harmed people. We didn't piss off people. We didn't start to get canceled because we had inappropriate examples, even when we translated into French and Arabic so far. So I hope we don't, so far that's good actually, that we didn't do harm, right?
So some online attendees, Lena, are wondering, is there a limit on where people in certain countries can access it? What is the logistics for people located with different country codes?
Oh no, it's just I'll put the link in to the chat. It's on, you just click hi and then it starts on your WhatsApp chat. And it's in these 3 languages.
I think we have time for one more question. I'm gonna go.
Maybe go,
Did
yeah.
you ask in the last one?
No, I also work with Lena, so I can ask her
Okay.
separately. Maybe go again.
Yeah. Just if you could just hand the microphone.
Hi, question about audiences and users in areas that don't have Wi-Fi. but are very adaptable to using tools such as this one. Is there any way to provide that tool outside of the White House? No mobile, no data, I do not provide data bundles if I'm in Kenya, in a rural area, or in Sri Lanka, in a rural area.
No, this was, this,
I think our microphone-
yeah, it was about, does this work for people who don't have Wi-Fi? No, it wasn't designed for those users. Want to just take Shane's question
Yeah.
quickly?
Okay, it's green now. Lena, thank you so much. And it's amazing the timing, right? Right before GPT. It's like completely out of out of your control. But you said something that really caught my ear about marketing. And you said that peace builders tend to not be excellent at marketing. Can you share like why? And and also maybe what's an example of a peacemaking focused company that has done it really well, that may be leading the way? Does one come to mind?
No, I mean, I think that, the Alliance for Peacebuilding with Frameworks Institute has done a whole piece of work over the last few years to understand why peace is so poorly understood, accepted. It's not aspired to as a concept. So there's a real challenge, right? And I think that that when I look at my colleagues across the world, that they are convinced that this is good, something good, and that they're assuming that there's all these good seekers out there wanting to just do something good. But that's not really how marketing works, right? That's why I was kind of intrigued by the like, are you pissed off with everybody marketing angle? Because I think you got to understand what people's pain points are. And you have to understand what it is that they're aspiring to, or is it the reputation, or is it, what are they going to gain from that, And I think we struggle with that because we're so convinced as practitioners, I'm talking really peace building practitioners, that we are helping people to transform conflict. And it doesn't always speak to the people who are right in the middle of that conflict. It sounds ironic, Shane, but it's a really important point. And I think that's why, I'll just end on a positive point, it's why we really need to work with technologists and other sectors and marketers to be able to popularize these things. And I mean, even with, Steve's depolarizing GPT, you can see Steve, I love what you're doing, but you're not also that interested in popularizing it, right? In fact, it could be really exciting, but it would have to be framed in a completely different way, right? It would have to be really framed in a different way. So I just hold that question, Shane, because it's critical to how we popularize these tools.